Hi everyone, I'm Tom and today I'm going to be showing you how to play Paper Dungeons, a brand new dungeon scrawler game designed by Leandro Perez and published by Alley Cat Games. The game plays 1 to 8 players and takes about 30 minutes. Now in the main video I'll talk about the multiplayer rules, but at the end I will cover what changes for solo. In Paper Dungeons, each of us will control a team of classic fantasy heroes, a warrior, a wizard, a cleric, and a rogue, who are on a dangerous quest through a dungeon full of monsters. There are minions everywhere, there are great big baddies to fight. We're trying to navigate the dungeons, avoid the traps, get the treasure, and as much glory as we can. The player who can boast of the most glories is the winner. So to start with, each player needs a sheet and a pencil. The game does come with pencils, but just for the video I'll be using a pen, just to make sure that it shows up well. So I've got a sheet for me here and a sheet for Little Glass Marty in a 2-player setup. Then you need to choose one of the dungeon cards that's available. This is going to give you a bit of backstory as to why you're here and what you might find in this particular dungeon, the big monsters that you will fight along the way, and the particular arrangement of your dungeon. This goes out in the player area for everyone to see, and each dungeon card will have the 3 monsters and their locations, and some walls for all of the players to draw in. So each player would now copy this, and you see the lines that you need to draw in are a little bit wavier than the big solid ones. So you would copy down the locations of each of these monsters, 1, 2, 3, and then there is a wall there, there is a wall there, and finally over here. All of the players do that. Then, according to the back of the dungeon setup card, find the monster cards that you need for your particular setup. So in this example, we would need the golem, the vampire, and the dragon. They go in the play area too. Grab the 6 dice and put them in the play area. Shuffle up the mission cards and choose 3 at random and put them into the player area. These are some missions that players can race for to earn extra points. For your first game, you can just leave these out. Each mission will award this number of points to the player that achieves the goal first. Don't worry about this on the right-hand side of each card, that is for the solo game. And finally, each player gets dealt 2 objective cards and 2 power cards. The objective cards will reward the player with extra points if they have fulfilled the criteria on them, and the power cards will give you a special ability throughout the game. Looking at mine, this would be quite a lucky draw because there is a mission to level up a lot of heroes to level 5. We'll see about leveling up heroes very shortly. There is a mission out for that, and one of my powers lets me craft an artifact whenever I get a hero to level 5. So that's clearly what I'm going for, and Marty would pick his at the same time. Now these special abilities do come with a bit of a cost. We are starting out with -1 and -2 points respectively. All of the other unused cards can go back in the box. And finally, look at the bottom of your chosen objective card. This tells you the training style of your 4 heroes, and you basically shade in these boxes here to match that. So I have white for my warrior and wizard, and black for my cleric and rogue, and Marty would have black for the warrior and the rogue, and white for the wizard and the cleric. And there we go, we are all set up. Some of the special powers in the game will say set up on them, and that lets you have some extra things at this point in the game. A game of Paper Dungeons lasts 8 rounds, and you can track the rounds with these boxes at the top of your dungeon sheet. In each round, you will take 3 dice. So you can see there are 8 groups of 3 here. After the first 3 rounds, we will fight the first monster, if we've reached them, that is. After the second 3 rounds, we will fight the second monster, and then after 2 more rounds, we will fight the third and final monster, if we've reached them in the dungeon. In a round, you will choose to level up your heroes, craft powerful artifacts, brew potions, and ultimately explore the dungeon. First thing we need to do in a round is roll the dice. If you see 3 skulls or 3 clovers, re-roll all the dice again until this isn't the case. Then players take damage from skulls. Every skull that we can see is a damage to all of the players. So let's look at our health and how we take damage. At the start of the game, each player has 4 health. This is determined basically by the levels of your heroes. Each of your 4 heroes is at level 1, which means you have a total health of 4. This is shown by the circles on the track that are already shaded at the start of the game. When you need to take damage, as we do at this point, you shade in one of the hearts on the right hand side. As you take more damage and reach these negative points on the right hand side, you will lose those points at the end of the game, the highest penalty you reached at the track at the end. If you have potions available, either from brewing them or gaining them by some other means, each potion will give you 2 extra damage slots that you can cross off instead of your health track, because there is no penalty for taking damage in this way. So at the moment, we each had 4 health and we have taken 1 damage each, so we are fine. If the number of filled hearts on your damage track would ever exceed your total health, you die but are immediately resurrected. You shade in this resurrection box here to show that you are going to lose 9 points at the end of the game, but you play on as normal. If you would die in the future after you've already been resurrected, there's no further penalty. If you've been resurrected, you still lose points as normal according to the damage track, as well as the 9 for being resurrected. So we've rolled the dice, we've taken damage from skulls. Now it's time to take 3 actions with the dice. Now the dice are the same available to everybody. You'll take actions independently, you will explore the dungeons independently. Each action will use the result of a die and take into account the colour and or symbol of that die. The 4 actions that you can take are levelling up a hero, crafting an artifact, brewing a potion, and exploring the dungeon. Every time you choose a die, write its number on a space on your sheet. This will track how many actions you have taken and make sure you don't accidentally use the same die twice. In this round, I would be able to use this white rogue symbol twice because we've rolled it twice. But I would only be able to use, say, the white wizard once. The white dice also have the clover symbol on them. This can represent a white or black warrior, wizard, cleric, or rogue. It's your choice when you take this die. You can't use a clover, however, as a boots result. These are only available on the black dice and only if they have been rolled. Let's take a look at those actions. So leveling up your hero. To level up a particular hero, you need a die with the symbol that matches your hero's type. And the training style, the colour of the die, has to match the training style of your hero, which we did during the setup. So we would both be able to level up our wizards, because the training style matches, and Marty could level up his warrior. I think that's what he would want to do. So he would be taking the 5 die, so he can write that in there. You cross off the next box up on your hero track. And each time you level up a hero, remember your total health is equal to the total levels of your heroes. So you need to gain a maximum health as well. When any hero reaches level 4, they unlock a special ability. When your warrior reaches level 4, you get 1 extra strength fighting any of the monsters, not the minions in the dungeon, the big monster fights. If your wizard gets to level 4, you can ignore the training style, the colour of the dice, when levelling up your heroes. If the cleric gets to level 4, you don't take any damage from skulls on the dice at the beginning of the round anymore. And if you level up your rogue to level 4, you gain a gem. Whenever you gain a gem through any means, you cross off the leftmost box. Some gems will give you rewards like crafting an artifact or brewing a potion or levelling up a hero. And at the end of the game, you're going to get the number of points of the highest number you have crossed off. Now, leveling up your heroes is important for fighting the minions and monsters and unlocking these special abilities, but it's also worth points at the end of the game as well. For every hero you got to level 6, you will get a bonus point, and then you look at your lowest level hero, and you gain the number of points according to the level they got to at the end of the game. So if your lowest level hero was level 2 at the end, you would get 3 points. If you would manage to get all of your heroes to level 6, you would get an extra 14 points. Crafting an artifact. To craft an artifact, you take a die and use it to craft 1/2 of an artifact. Every artifact crafted this way through an action takes 2 dice. For crafting an artifact, the colour of the die does not matter. You can see that every artifact has the black or white die symbol. The first 4 artifacts, on the other hand, require a particular symbol be spent. So while I couldn't level up my warrior with this die, maybe I would also want to use a 5 to craft the first half of the flaming sword here, because it needs a warrior symbol to be spent. Again, the colour does not matter. Taking this action will earn you a point every time, but only when you have crafted an artifact twice will you gain its ability. Some of the artifacts have ongoing effects and have this infinity symbol next to them, and some have the lightning bolt symbol, which means they have an instant effect which takes place once as soon as the artifact is fully crafted. And the powers of each artifact: the flaming sword lets you add 3 strength when you fight a monster, not a minion. The death scepter, when crafted, immediately lets you kill 2 minions anywhere in your dungeon, but you are going to lose a point at the end of the game. You still get to cross off 2 boxes on your minion track, as we will see shortly. The car medallion lets you move over water, which usually you can't, and gives you a point at the end of the game. The intangibility cloak lets you move through walls. The crown of the righteous king gives you 4 points at the end of the game. The alchemist's cauldron lets you prepare 3 potions immediately. The armor of heroes lets you add 1 to your strength when you fight a minion, not a monster, and gives you 2 points at the end of the game. And finally, the tome of wisdom lets you instantly level up any one of your heroes and will give you 3 points at the end of the game. Brewing a potion. Now, this is a simple action. It doesn't matter what colour the die is. It doesn't matter what symbol is on the die. You just spend a die to brew 2 potions. You can see here, any symbol, any colour of die, brews 2 potions. So maybe I would want to use a die, say this 4, to brew a couple of potions to make things a bit safer. I would cross off the first 2 potions on my track here, and so the next 4 damage that I would take can be absorbed by these potions instead of earning me negative points and risking me dying on my health track. You start brewing potions from the top left here and go row by row. When you have brewed your 4th, 8th and 12th potions, you'll get a little bonus. Your 4th rewards you with a free level up of any of your heroes. Your 8th potion lets you take a craft artifact action, so you can cross off any one of the boxes on your artifact track as if you had used the required die to do it. And finally, the 12th potion will gain you a gem. And the final action is exploring the dungeon. Again, you can use any die to move through the dungeon and move 2 steps through the dungeon. The exception is the special boots side of the black die, which will let you move 3 spaces through the dungeon instead of the normal 2. When you first enter the dungeon, you can enter through any of the archways at the bottom of your map. If you enter a room with a reward in the bottom right and nothing else, you gain that reward as soon as you enter the room. If there is a trap or a minion, however, you need to deal with them first. So perhaps I would want to use the boots as my final die here. So I would write a 0 in, and I can move 3 steps inside this dungeon. So maybe I would want to enter the dungeon here, and you can use arrows and lines to mark where you're going. You are allowed to backtrack through rooms you've already been into, just as long as you are moving orthogonally adjacent into different rooms. Through the doorways, you basically just can't move diagonally through these walls, even if you're allowed to move through walls with the artifact. So if we go into this room, there is no trap. There is no monster, so I can circle the reward to remember that I've taken it, and this gives me a potion to cross off here, so an extra 2 health. Every time you enter a room with a trap, you always take a damage, even if you've been into that room before. But maybe I would like to get fighting, so my second step out of my 3, I could go into this room here with a minion. Now the 4 kinds of minions all correspond to the 4 kinds of heroes, and you've got a reminder right next to the picture of the enemy. So orcs must be fought by warriors, ghosts must be fought by wizards, skeletons must be fought by clerics, and goblins must be fought by rogues. There is a level of the fight on the symbol here, so this orc is a level 3 fight for the warrior. Now if the minion's level is equal to or lower than your hero's level, they defeat the minion and you take no damage. In this case, it's a level 3 orc versus a level 1 warrior. Your hero still defeats the minion, but will take damage for it equal to the difference in levels. So 3 minus 1, that's a 2 difference. I'm going to take 2 damage. Luckily, I have brewed a lot of potions for this eventuality. And you can always take damage on your health track, of course. You cannot choose not to fight a minion. Now that I've fought the minion, though, I can cross off that orc, and I can also cross off the first box of my minion track. At the end of the game, I will earn points equal to the highest number that I crossed off. And now that there's no pesky minion in the way, I can claim my artifact, and maybe I would want to finish off my sword here. That's going to be an extra point at the end of the game, and I would now get some extra strength against monsters. And for my third step, maybe I would like to go into this room containing the golem. Now, nothing happens right now. We fight the golem at the end of round 3, but you only get an opportunity to fight the golem if you have reached or gone through the room that the golem is in. And that applies to all of the big monsters. Other rewards that you can claim are level up any hero and claim a gem. You'll see the gems in the dungeon all have letters on them. So let's say in the next round, I wanted to travel again. I could go into this room for my first steps, fight this skeleton. Unfortunately, my cleric, I only managed to get to level 2. It's a level 4 skeleton, so I'm going to take 2 more damage, but I can now claim Gem A. I cross off a gem on the track. After everyone's finished their actions, if you claimed a gem, you need to announce, I claimed Gem A. Well, say the letter of the gem that it is. Don't just always say Gem A. Everyone that hasn't claimed Gem A yet will need to cross it off. They can't claim it in the future. However, the same gem can be claimed by multiple players in the same round. So, simultaneously, Marty could have chosen to go through one of these doorways. See, all of these archways kind of loop around. It's a kind of cylinder dungeon. And so for his first step, he could come into this room. He's already taken this minion out with his special artifact up here. So he gets to just waltz in and claim the gem as well. And he's allowed to do that because we did it in the same round. Now let's look at fighting a monster. Another round has passed. We're at the end of the third round, and we are ready to fight the golem. At this point, every player needs to either fight or run away. To see which you do, you check 2 things. Have you reached or passed through the room that the monster resides in? If you haven't, you can't fight the monster. If you have reached the room, you then work out the total strength of your team. If your team isn't strong enough, you can't fight the monster. To do this, you add up the levels of your 4 heroes. But each monster has a weakness against one of your heroes. So the golem's weakness is rogues. This is why we have been kind of focused on leveling up our rogues. You double the strength of this hero when fighting a monster that is weak to it. And also add any bonuses from your power cards, from your artifacts, your heroes leveling up. So in this case, Marty would have a strength of 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But remember, rogues are doubled, so 9, 10, 11. He doesn't have any of the bonuses. His strength is 11. The minimum strength required to fight the golem is 9, so he's okay. If your total strength is lower than the lowest value on the card, or if you didn't reach the monster at all, you run away and you take the penalty that is written on the monster's card. Write this in the monster's corresponding space in the scoring section of your sheet. Otherwise, we all fight separately. You cannot choose to run away. Compare your strength to the 3 values at the bottom of the monster that you are fighting, and you will earn this many victory points and take this much damage. So in Marty's case, having 11 strength, he would reach the first value, he would write 2 points here, and he would take 3 damage. Remember, this damage can cause you to die and need to be resurrected and lose 9 points, so bear that in mind, especially in the 3rd, 6th, and 8th rounds as you come to these big fights. So he would gain 2 points and take 3 damage. Luckily, he has finally brewed some potions. In my case, I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but the rogue is doubled, 10, 11, 12, 13, plus my flaming sword, which gives me 16. Not quite enough for the best total, but I can go for the middle there. I will gain 4 points and take 2 damage. Now, the person with the highest strength, in this case me, gets an additional bonus. For the golem, it is take a brewing potions action. And wow, in this game, I've nearly filled up on potions already. For the vampire and the dragon, the bonus is 2 extra points. Now, if more than one player ties for highest strength, nobody gets the reward. Keep playing until the end of the game, and your final points are the glory you earned or lost fighting the 3 monsters, the points for leveling up your heroes. Let's just imagine Marty got his heroes to this stage. You look at your lowest leveled hero, which in this case is the warrior, still sitting at level 2. So he would get 3 points plus another point for his cleric reaching level 6. So that would be 4 there. Artifact, every box you crossed off is worth a point. Gems, your highest crossed off box. Minions, the same, your highest crossed off box. So fight as many minions as you can, without taking too much damage, of course. Points you lost on your damage track. 9 points lost if you needed to be resurrected. Every mission you claimed is worth 4 points. These are only rewarded to the first player to achieve them, but if 2 or more players did them in the same round, they all get the points. And heroes on your objective cards. Add up all of your points, and the most glory wins. So they are the main rules of Paper Dungeons. If that's all you needed to know, I wish you luck on your travels, and may you be ever glorious. But if you would like to stick around for a little bit longer, I'll tell you about a couple of variants, including the solo mode. You can choose to play with disappearing gems. Now this puts even more pressure on running through the dungeon and trying to grab certain gems. You can see the monsters that are coming out, and so you can see which gems this will happen to. After the golem fight, if gems B and D have not yet been claimed, everyone has to cross them out on their sheets. It is too late. Similarly, after the vampire fight, F and G will be crossed out if they haven't been already. So recognise which gems are about to disappear and make sure you get to them. The campaign mode. There is a 12-episode campaign storyline included in Paper Dungeons. Rather than just picking a random dungeon card at the start, they all have letters on the back. You can play through them in alphabetical order and play through the whole story of Paper Dungeons. At the start of each game, you can read the text on the card, play the game as normal, but keep track of the glory that everyone got in each game. At the end of your 12-game campaign, total up all of your glory, and the player who was the most glorious wins the epic campaign. And finally, the solo mode. Largely, you play the game just as it was for the multiplayer game, but there are a few changes. You are the only person exploring the Paper Dungeon, so there is no bonus for being the strongest against a monster. You're always the strongest. The missions work a little bit differently. You're of course going to be the first one to complete a mission if you complete it, so instead you earn a number of points equal to the round that you achieved it in. If you manage to do a mission straight away, you will get 6 points if you manage to do it in round 1. If you wait all the way to round 8 though, you only get a single point. So perhaps they should be your priority, as well as everything else of course. And finally, you must play with the disappearing gems variant if you are playing the solo mode. So make sure to snap them up on your way to achieving all of the missions, your objective, defeating many minions, crafting all the artifacts, leveling up your heroes, and trying not to take too much damage. Sounds simple, right? Well, there we go. Thank you for staying through the extra bit. I wish you slightly more luck than before. I hope I have helped with your journey into your Paper Dungeon. If you have any questions or comments, just let me know below. There are many videos on this channel, mainly playthrough videos. Hopefully you will find another that will interest you. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, I would love it if you could give it a like, and if you would like to subscribe to the channel, you'll see whenever I put more videos up, and won't that be great? Thank you very much for watching this one though, and I will see you for the next game. Bye everyone.